everyone, it has been way too long since I have last made a video for this channel, but I am back and super excited to finally be making new art videos and everything for you all. And I figured a great way to start that streak again would be to film a haul video. As I mentioned before, I spent most of my away time that I wasn't filming videos in Chicago at Star Wars Celebration. And, you know, I gallivanted off to the States for 2 weeks, and of course, in that time, I did accumulate some art supplies. Of course, I am from Canada, so things in the States, you know, don't always come here. So this might be interesting to a lot of you. I know a lot of you are from the US, so this stuff is possibly more readily available to you than it is definitely to me in Canada. So you might find some things like hilarious because you might be able to get this stuff all the time and I think it's like the greatest thing in the world. But anyway, I guess with that, we'll just get straight into all of the art supplies. So like I mentioned, mainly my family and I went to Chicago for Star Wars Celebration, but one of the main things that was on my list to do when we were in the States was to find a Blick. I'm sure lots of you know Blick is a ginormous art supplies store chain, and we really just don't have anything like it in Canada. I know you can order from Blick online, but with the customs and the shipping and everything, it just was never worth it, and I'd never had an opportunity. So as soon as we were going to the States, I'm like, we need to find a Blick store somewhere. So we did, and damage was done. The main thing I bought at Blick were the Finetech palettes. Now there's a whole bunch of other ones over here too that I will show you. But the Finetech colors are my absolute favorite metallic watercolors. You have seen me use them in a whole bunch of videos, and I always have to order them. And since I first bought like the first sets, they have since like repackaged them super nice and come out with a whole lot of new colors. And funnily enough, I had looked up if I could buy the new palettes from where I normally had bought like the other ones that I'd gotten, and I was going to order them when I got back because I didn't have time to like order them, and if I'd ordered them then they would have come when we weren't here. So I was going to order them when we came back, and then they had like that palette and so many more in Blick, so I literally bought all of them. First thing that I picked up was this swatch sheet thing. You know me, I love a good swatch sheet. It was just kind of like a freebie thing they had in like the Finetech section, because they have a Finetech section in a Blick store now. But yeah, it was just kind of like a freebie bookmark thing that has all of the different palettes. I didn't get absolutely every single palette, because the two are kind of just repackaging of the two that I already have, like the gold palette and the iridescent palette. I have those. And between the other colors, I probably have about every gold shade as a duplicate. Like, I definitely have duplicates in this, but because they are so hard to find and because I use them so much, I just didn't care. So the first thing is the ginormous one. Annoyingly, they don't, like, the palette, as far as I can tell, doesn't have an actual name on this. It's just a code. So I'm pretty sure this one is the bottom one because it is the one with the most colors. But look at how beautiful these are. That's just one layer. This palette has 2 layers. And oh my god, I am so excited to use these. I am absolutely obsessed with Finetech paints. So yeah, they are going to be used in a lot of videos. I'm gonna try and figure out what to do with the like numbering and color situation, just so I know, because like on the packaging they have actual like names, but they're not labeled similarly to like watercolor pans. So I'm gonna figure out something to do with that to keep things organized and figure things out and maybe actually do some swatches. Like, this is definitely a great kind of go-to thing. It's like super compact and I can see what is in every single palette, but probably gonna make another swatch sheet for all of these. This one has a peak. I'm just gonna go by like what's on the cover thing. This one has a lovely chameleon, which a lot of them have lizards. This one is the peacock feather palette, we'll call it. And this one is another one of the like super multicolor ones. This one for some reason has different shaped pans. But yes, so excited about just using these, really. I mean, I've had them for like 3 weeks now, and of course I wasn't about to start using them on the road. And then I picked up 3 of these smaller sets, like the 1-layer sets. These 2 are kind of shown as they have the flip-flop colors, and this one is like, it's similar to the gold one, but it has kind of off shades. There's like a copper, bronze, and different types of golds. I'm gonna open these ones too. So this one is the one with the pink chameleon on it, and that is what that one looks like. I haven't decided if I'm going to try and like take these out to kind of put them all more together, because obviously the packaging is kind of, you know, they all kind of look like this, so figuring out which palette is which, there's going to be labels of some sort on these. But this one is more of a pink and red color scheme. And then this one is the other flip-flop color palette. This one has more greens and purples and blues and all of that kind of stuff. And that is what that one looks like. The third one is a much more traditional metallic one, but this is, some of these colors might be the ones that I have, but this was not like the repackaging of the old school gold palette. This one definitely has other colors in it along with golds, like this bronze shade and then some lighter golds and silvers there. So yes, super excited to try all of those out. So the main reason that I kind of knew about Blick, as far as I know, and kind of looked into the idea of possibly having to order from them, were the Caran Luminance colored pencils, which, if you are familiar with colored pencils, they are like the Ferraris of colored pencils, because Lord knows they're expensive and they are impossible to get in Canada. And the closest and somewhat easiest thing that I had found was that Blick sold them, and I had like hummed and hawed, because obviously, because they are so hard to get for me, it's not like I can just go and, you know, one of the things that I really love about the Polychromos and the Prismacolors is that they're open stock as well. So I can go to an art store if I run out of a color and just buy that color. And of course, these other colored pencils that obviously I was really interested in trying out because I love colored pencils, that was a whole other problem. So I was like humming and hawing, and originally I didn't think that the Blick in Chicago had them, but I did find a 40 set, and I just figured, you know, this was kind of the first, this was like the main thing that I was actually kind of looking for before I realized they had like fine tech gold just lurking in their store. This was kind of the main thing that I was looking at possibly getting, and I figured, you know, it's not going to happen again, or at least for a very long time, so why don't I just buy a smaller set? I was originally possibly going to go all out and get the 76 set, which I don't even think they sold. So I bought the 40 set, so it was kind of like a compromise, you know. It's not all of them, but it's enough that I can try out and mix them in with my other pencil crayons to use and like test them out and kind of review them for you guys without like having the whole problem, which, you know, I could have the problem if I use them like to death. But yes, I am super excited to test these out, because these have been on like my should I get them or should I not get them list for probably like 5 years now. This is actually originally why I bought my Polychromos, because when I was looking at trying to order these, it was cheaper literally for me to buy the largest Polychromos set and the largest Derwent Colorsoft set, which were kind of what these were compared to, literally both of those sets, than it was for me to attempt to import the 76 color set. And so that's why I started using Polychromos, because I figured let's buy those instead, which I love those, so that was not like a bad decision. But yeah, that is how long I've hummed and hawed at these, and so it's kind of crazy that I now own some of them. So yes, looking forward to testing those out in a video. And yeah, that's kind of the other thing, like anything that I show, if you want like a specific video on or like a review or kind of, you know, a video dedicated to that product, definitely let me know, because I would love to, you know what you guys are interested in. There are definitely some products coming up that I can see you guys probably being interested in having a specific video kind of reviewing those. But yeah, just let me know what you guys would like to see. Now that is actually everything that I got at Blick, so you should be like, you know, impressed with my somewhat restraint. But of course, 2 weeks in the States, you know, there was a lot of other things going on. And one of the other wonders of America is Hobby Lobby, which is kind of like, if you're not from the States, which I know like the other part of my audience is not US based, it's kind of like if you're from Canada or other things, it's like a Michael's on steroids. And boy, things went well there as well. The first thing, which might be the most random and like unexciting thing possibly in this haul, but it is this covered palette. Now, of course, you're thinking like, can't you buy palettes in Canada? Yes, I can. This one is by Master's Touch, which from what I can tell looks like it's Hobby Lobby's like in-house art supplies brand, kind of like Artist Loft is to Michael's. But the main thing that drew me to this palette, if you can see on the packaging, I don't really feel like taking this out of the box because it is quite unexciting. It is ceramic with a whole lot of individual paint wells, which is very rare in palettes. I love ceramic, and individual wells in like this size, like it's a pretty big palette. But the individual well idea is not a thing. Like the most wells you can normally get in like a palette form are those plastic ones that have them like around the outside, and then you have like a big mixing area, which is great, but sometimes, a lot of the time, you don't really need that giant mixing area in the middle. This one has like a whole mixing area on the other side of the palette if you need, but it is 33 wells in a row, which is amazing. Like if you were looking at creating like a custom watercolor palette or custom gouache palette or something, you could probably easily just do it in this. So I had to pick this up. It really was not that expensive. It was breakable, so it was interesting getting back safely. But yeah, super excited to use this, and I'm sure you will see it in videos. The other things from Hobby Lobby were these brush pen things. Now, originally, when they are the Kuretake brushes, they are just kind of in different sizes. I know they're like really glary, so I hope you can see this. The writing is all in Japanese, so unless you know Japanese, you could read that. I have no idea what any of these say, which will bring me to my next point, that I thought these were like as you can see, they are brushes that have a cap on them. So I thought they were just kind of travel brushes in different like nib size and shapes. They are actually pens, which not mad about. But yeah, they have black ink in them. I opened one of them and like looked at it just to kind of see what it was. Yeah, they have black ink in them. When the black ink runs out, I'm not sure if you can refill them, but when it runs out, I will probably just use them as the original intention, which was kind of like a travel brush type thing, because they have super nice nibs on them. But I do love a good brush pen to draw with, so yeah, like I said, not mad that they have ink in them. It's just not what I originally thought. Next thing I picked up at Hobby Lobby were the Moo erasers. Now this is definitely a repurchase. I normally have to order these, and they had them there for $3, and so I just decided to pick up them to save me from having to order them in a couple of months when I inevitably am going to need more of them. Now this was kind of a random purchase, but it is this traditional Chinese ink in golden black, and this stuff just looked super interesting. If you can see from like the side picture, it's like the black sinks to the bottom and the gold particles come to the top. I don't know, it just looked super interesting, and I just had to pick it up to try it because I was very intrigued by this stuff. And the last thing from Hobby Lobby is just this Pentel Graph Gear pencil. I have a set of these already. It's not exactly this style. It is a Pentel Graph Gear one, but this is a 0.3 millimeter pencil, which I use mainly, and I only have one of them, so I figured I would pick up another one when it was right there, because 0.3 millimeter pencils are not a thing as easily as you would think. Next place that we hit up in the States was Barnes & Noble, which I know you're thinking, why on earth are you going to buy art supplies in a bookstore? Which I did actually pick up art supplies, but mainly it's these two art books that I picked up that, you know, looked there, and I'd never seen these before, and they both looked great. So this one is called Watercolor Workshop. It just looked really interesting. The pages are really nice and clean, and the layout was great, and yeah, it just interested me a lot. Obviously, I have a ton of art books, so probably didn't need more, but do you really have enough art books? Really? Yeah, so like I said, that one just intrigued me a lot. It was a really nice thing, so picked that up. Never seen that before. And this other one is called Dynamic Watercolors, which this one has like a bunch of like crazy stuff in it. It's definitely possibly more along the abstract line of things, but it's just like using all of this random stuff to create texture with watercolors, and I thought it was super interesting, so picked that up as well. And the last thing from Barnes & Noble, art supplies wise at least, like they had a whole Studio Ghibli section that I went way too nuts in, but that's not part of this haul. Anyway, clearly today is tangent day, but as we were walking by like the stationery area, I saw these, and the Uniball pens are my absolute favorite gel pens, and I had never seen them in like the varying shades here, so I picked those up as well. So whether they're actually used for art videos or more just kind of for stationery type purposes, I thought I would throw those in there in case they do happen to make it into an art video. Another place we went to was Joann's. Now, mainly for fabric, of course. My mom, super sewing fabric nut, so that was a must-have on her list, but I did actually manage to find a couple of things for myself, and they're both kind of very random and big. The first thing was this paint storage. This is very similar to what I had built for my current paint tubes, which I'm overflowing, and I saw this. It wasn't that expensive, and it looked very interesting, so I figured I would pick that up. Not exactly sure where it's going to go yet and what exactly I'm going to use it for. Obviously, it doesn't have to be used for paint, but, you know, tiny little cube things that also can possibly hang up seemed like a great idea to buy. The other thing, again, like I said, storage, was this very interesting pen tray. This I think is going to go in the bookcase that's like beside me. I have like an empty slot where it's been sitting. But yeah, it looked super interesting and super useful. It has like all of these really shallow shelves that, as you can see from like the display picture, I can absolutely not see what I'm showing on camera. Okay, there. As you can see from the picture, they have markers all in that, and you will see in a second what I might use this for. But yeah, thought this was really interesting and not something that I could pick up here. Now, the next things are actually things that I got once I was back home. Just things that I needed to order. This one is kind of really boring, but this one is a pencil case that it's like a mini version of the ones that I have my Polychromos and Prismacolors in. So that is probably going to be for the Luminance pencils. You know, wanted to have a nice storage system for that, so ordered that basically the day that we got back, I think. And then the other things were just Amazon purchases. These I meant to look for in Blick, which I'm not even sure if they sold these. The fine line applicator. I ordered the pens too, but the pen things weren't primed. Basically, these, probably going to use them for masking fluid, especially these ones. The pen ones, I'm probably going to put whatever ink I want in them, but they're basically these really fine tip bottles, similar to kind of what I use now, but I wanted to test these ones out as well. Now, these are what I think you guys are going to want a video on. I picked up the 96 brush pen set by Arteza. Now, Arteza is kind of like blowing up. I know a lot of artist YouTubers have been testing out the products, and honestly, a lot of them didn't really appeal to me, but I have been getting pretty into doing sketching with different color inks and stuff, and so I saw these, and these ones in particular they're marketed as being like watercolor pens, which I have tried them like a little, and they don't work great as like watercolor in the traditional sense. Like once they're on the page, they don't lift very well. But what I am personally going to use these for, which they will probably work great, is just as brush pen markers. They are all like nylon fiber pens, so they have great precision. If you're familiar with the, what is this? This pen, the Pentel brush pen, I love this pen so much. It is actual brush hairs, and these are very similar to this, except these are all in crazy colors. So super excited about using these in a sketchbook, and probably in a separate video, specifically possibly reviewing this particular Arteza product and the other one that I bought, which are these fine liner pens. These again, I have not really tested out. I did like doodle like a little eyeball using these. The one thing I will kind of like, not necessarily complain about, but something I didn't realize, which might not be for everybody, is they are water-based, which, like I said, for me, it's not really a problem because of what I'm planning on using these for, but you're not gonna probably want to use them the same way you would want to use like a Copic multi-liner or any kind of permanent ink pen for outlining. So they might not be the best thing for you if you were looking at outlining your artwork in different colors with these, but like I said, for me, I was kind of looking at different colored ink pens for kind of just doing outline drawings, and even just using them as actual like coloring art supplies utensils. Like I said, not exactly sure, but at the very least, I plan on both of these kind of for just outline drawings, and for that, I think both of them will work great. And that is everything. I know that was quite a lot of art supplies for one video, but I am super excited about testing all of these out and using them in very soon upcoming artworks. Like I mentioned before, if there's any videos you would like to see with any of these specific products, you know, see them in action, reviews, any of that kind of stuff, leave it in the comments below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.